Hello and welcome to the CRM Zen Show, where we talk about all things Zoho. This is episode 243, Email Pattern Boldness, recorded on Friday, March 24th, 2023 from Zenatta Consulting. I'm Brett Martin.
And I'm Tyler Colt, and let's get right on into the show.
Another week is in the bag, Tyler. A busy week here at Zenatta.
Very busy week. Yep, we were just talking about that. It seems like 2 weeks in one, right? Greg and Josh did the whole Zoho Desk webinar, which I think was the longest product tutorial we've done, about an hour and a half. Really, really good, really in depth. And we did our first episode of AZAAZ, which I think went live on Wednesday. So it's felt like 2 weeks in one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was absolutely crazy. But and then we have a tip of the week, and we do the show and everything. And then I think we have clients we take care of as well. So I don't know.
I have to call this out before we get into it. Star in the chat did a great little addition to our show title. So instead of email pattern boldness, Star added natural email enhancement, which was great.
Oh, excellent.
That's a good way to start the show. Thank you for that.
Star and Greg should get together and write our witty titles together. There you go.
There you
go. All righty. And with that, let's get on into some announcements and events. All righty, Tyler. As always, our announcements and events are now over at club.zenatta.com. You can still get to them from the homepage at Zenatta. It's just going to take you right here. When you get to Club Zenatta, the current upcoming ones for the week are going to be over here on the sidebar. If you're watching us on YouTube, if you're listening to us, they're over on the right-hand side. Then you could also scroll on down and you can break them down, like what are the upcoming Zenatta events. CRM Zen Show today. On the 29th, our new show AZAAZ. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. And, any webinars we've got. Actually, our April webinar is going to be our Zoho Social Full Product Overview. That should be good. We haven't done one on social in a really, really long time.
I think 2020 was the last one we did.
Yeah, and it's come a long way, real long way. Lots of improvements there. So be sure to check that out. And you can reserve those just by going to, like I said, Club Zenatta and click on this little RSVP button right here. And you can go ahead and add that directly to your calendar. And away you will go. So pretty nice. And if you click add calendar, it gives you the choice of what calendar you want to add it to. So couldn't be simpler to go ahead and subscribe to these shows. And of course, we also had all of the Zoho announcements are here as well. And Zoho has been on fire, Tyler. I mean, there was a period at the end of last year where we were hardly seeing anything. And they are really, really cranking it up. I mean, just in what's left in March alone, I'm looking at about 8 or 9 events. So really good stuff. I've got a whole bunch of good
into stuff. It. You go through those periods where Zoho's kind of quiet, and there's not too many of these things going on, but it seems like they're really picking back up to carry through the middle section of the year.
And in April, they're kicking off kind of their U.S. Zoholics tour. So they're going to be in Pleasanton on April 21st. On April 27th, they'll be in New Jersey. And then they're going to be in Austin, Texas on May 4th. So they've changed it. They're kind of little, 2-day Zoholics now, much smaller groups, 300-400 people. So if you're into Zoho, head over to Zoholics there. And with that, let's get into our news and events. Well, we're going to stay here at Club Z for a while because the first news we want to talk about is our own. If you have been listening to the CRM Zen Show for a while, you know that at the end of every show, we do our Q&A. And we've moved it now. So we've created a whole separate show called Ask Zenatta Anything About Zoho, or AZAAZ for short. And we've launched our first one this Wednesday, and man, we had a lot of fun doing it. So I think this worked out really well, Tyler, because we're able to give the questions a whole lot more love, don't you think?
Yeah, that's kind of our concern when we were doing them at the tail end of the CRM Zen show is, we couldn't really give them a lot of space without stretching this show to be like an hour or hour, 15 minutes. And so rather than kind of cramming all those questions in the last, 5 to 8 minutes of this show, we thought, hey, we can actually take our time and really give some good answers if we carve this out into its own section. So questions on this show, questions on any of our YouTube videos, we're going to be going through those, kind of picking them out, covering them. A lot of times we're going to be doing some screen shares actually kind of showing how we would set one of these things up. And then one of the really fun things on that is we're going to be rotating all different types of people from our team onto the show. So this last week we had Greg and Josh, but if we've got lots of finance questions, maybe John will jump in. And we've got so many different smart people. Wanted to kind of give a space for us to include more of them in answering your all's questions.
Yeah, it's been it was really good. And so like you had mentioned, if you leave a question on the YouTube channel, that's going to be included in the show. And we also have a brand new section here called Q&A for AZAAZ. And if you go ahead and drop in your questions into here, we're going to answer them there as well. So this used to be questions for Club Z. Now it's questions for Ask Zenatta anything about Zoho, and you can just kind of drop it in there and we will get to those questions. I looked at the doc this morning. It looks like we've already got 8 questions in. The cutoff on those questions is, I think, going to be Sunday night. So every Sunday, we're going to kind of cap it for the week so we can prep for them on Monday, assign them out, make sure we've got all the answers proper for those. So I'm really excited about that. Good. I hope
Huge shout
everybody.
out to Freddie as well, who kind of is the back end for a lot of our content, the man behind the curtain, if you will. He really knocked it out of the park with the kind of production and design on this show. So huge kudos to Freddie. It's crazy how far we've come. If you go back and watch one of our old webinars, it is a different world here at Zenatta these days.
I know. It's funny. So we just got a chat in the chat window saying, hey, for announcements, you don't have the option to add to Zoho Calendar. Unfortunately, virtually nothing supports that. Second Chance Property LLC. But I will say as we move on here, if you do go to those events and you go ahead and click on that you want to RSVP, one of the things you will notice is, most of these calendars have some sort of integration one way or another. So you'll that will be the best we can do. I don't know. We can probably make a request to these people to add it, but unfortunately, it's just not enough out there. I mean, that's one of the things. It's kind of a sidetrack here. Zoho Calendar is great. Zoho Email is great. One of the things they lack are major integrations with third parties. Right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of problematic. Is real native, nice integrations. They're starting to get that critical mass, and I think as they do get that critical mass, you'll start to see more and more people support them with the generalized plugins. But we did not write this beautiful form software, so we'll have to get with them and see if they can help us do that. And moving on with actual Zoho news, we're going to start off with a bunch of stuff from WorkDrive and basically their overall Office product set. So you can now transfer ownership of files and folders in My Folders.
This is like one of the last things in WorkDrive that you just couldn't do. It's one of those things, Brett, it wasn't quite a section, but it was a running joke of, man, I thought I could already do that. Those updates where you really thought that this would have already been there, but this is basically in WorkDrive. If you're an admin, you're able to reassign other people's folders, right? And so someone leaves the company, someone's going on sabbatical, whatever that use case is, maybe they're moving departments, whatever. Just being able to really easily reassign all of their records or folders or files to somebody else it's kind of a need to have, right? At the end of the day, for any type of file management.
Yeah, it's big. I mean, it's super. There's a couple of these in here we're going to talk about as we kind of go through these the news stories today that I think are pretty major deals that they've done, and this is definitely one of them. And moving on, WorkDrive Snap. Man, have we been talking about this a lot, huh?
Yeah, we kind of quickly talked about this because they had a kind of their roll up. Oftentimes Zoho will do that, like, WorkDrive 4.0, and they'll give a quick brief on 5 different features, and then they'll have individual articles on each one. So we kind of briefly talked about this before. This is like a lightweight functionality in WorkDrive, kind of like Loom. We're able to really quickly and easily spin up a screen, video, audio recording, and drop it into a folder. Just a few little odds and ends, like being able to quickly edit videos aren't there quite yet, but this is great, honestly. I love that they added this. I had no inclination to believe that they would just add this randomly out of the blue in WorkDrive, but it's great. I mean, selfishly, as a Zoho partner, we spend a lot of time recording short form little snippet training tutorial videos for our clients. And I think that there is a time when we could actually switch over from Loom, right?
Well, they
There's a couple
also
little
have this in
features and we got
Zoho
to do some
Annotate.
more testing, but
Yeah.
it'd be great to be able to save it directly to a client's folder, right? On our side, we make a folder automatically for every single client when they enter the CRM. And so being able to just record directly to that folder and now everything's there. I mean, it's pretty slick.
It is. And they also
Mm.
have this in Annotator where you can quickly make a video. And we've been
Mhm.
testing that out as well. And it's very good. It just, like you say, it's missing those quick little edits, right?
Yeah.
Quick little snip this out, snip that out. Because oftentimes you're doing one of these and you just want to cut little things out. So if you're listening, Zoho, that's kind of all that's missing, I think,
Yeah, that
honestly.
little snipping tool at the end before you click save and process is really all
Yeah.
this needs. And
Yeah,
we probably make
that
it
is
count.
kind of it. So, but great, really nice update for WorkDrive there as well. And then now you can manage all your team's shared items in one place. Another major WorkDrive upgrade, in my opinion, to to be able to go in and look at as an admin all of the files that are shared, who they've been shared with. This is something you're able to do. And man, I don't know if they're missing any pieces after this one compared with every other, you know, external storage thing.
Yeah.
Whether it's Box or Dropbox or OneDrive or Google Drive. This is kind of the last thing. I mean, those are the
Yeah.
two. It's like they got like both of those things that we just talked about. This kind of clears it out.
Yep. Essentially, I mean, we talk about it a lot. And I will say Google Drive did just recently get a UI change. So this is the first change I've seen in that app in a long time. But just the amount of constant updates and improvements coming out for WorkDrive as well as the full Office suite. I still have my gripes with the way that Zoho Writer does bulleted lists. Zoho, reach out to me. I'll tell you exactly what it is. But across the board, I mean, they're great apps, right? Especially WorkDrive.
Yeah. Good stuff there. The team was on fire this week. And then we've got a roundup of everything that happened. So all of the apps are kind of in Zoho Workplace, whether it's WorkDrive or Zoho Mail and all these, their workplace. So they did a little roundup. We've covered almost all of these stories. And by the way, if you're missing this, you want to look at them. If you just go to zenatta.com, click on CRM Zen, the latest show will be there. All the show notes with all the links is there. Or better yet, just subscribe to our newsletter and you'll get that delivered to your inbox every Monday morning at 6 a.m. Pacific time. And it will have all of the links and everything we talked about, plus stuff we don't talk about on the show. Tyler and I, there's a lot of stuff on mobile that's just really, really minor things. And we oftentimes don't cover those on the show, but they might mean something to you. So you can get that there. But Tyler, on this workplace thing, we covered almost every single one of these as we went through them, but the one that I had not noticed was adapting Zoho Mail to make it easier. And basically, if you've moved to Zoho, but you're a Google user, an Outlook user, or a Yahoo user, you now can go over and completely customize your Compose window. So when
Mhm.
you go to compose a window, I think Gmail's got the send all the way down at the bottom, right?
Mhm.
So if you want to, you can just kind of rearrange where everything sits on the screen,
Yep.
and it's super nice. I haven't seen this in any other email client before.
Yeah, I haven't seen
Um,
it either. It is pretty slick. One thing I'll also highlight is that they rolled this out with templates for it, for I think Google, Outlook, and Yahoo. Oddly enough, I don't know how Yahoo got into the mix there, but so if you
Yahoo
do,
still
let's say, really
exists.
love
I mean,
Gmail, right? You can just pull up Zoho Mail and kind of make it look the same for
yeah,
the most
it's
part. So
super. Super, super nice. It's funny the thing about Yahoo, in the question that Second Chance was asking in the thing about, hey, how come, Zoho Calendar's not in there? But if I looked at that, Yahoo Calendar was still there, right? I mean, it's
the
still a
holdout.
thing. It's still a thing. So very interesting, but super nice job from the team here.
Yeah, it's
Something
really
I
cool.
hadn't even I wouldn't even have thought of this, but I just think it's super nice. I haven't tried it out yet, but I'm gonna give it a go and see what it does. But very, very nice from the Zoho Mail team there. And then moving on, we've got some enhancements related to emails in the CRM. I would say, I guess the big one here now is that you can turn on email threads, Tyler.
Yeah, they're kind of updating a lot about the UI here over time. So emails are going to thread a little nicer when you open them up on, you clicked open one, it's going to kind of give you that expand contract so you don't have to scroll way back. Another update as a part of this, I mean, minor one, you can resize the columns in the related list. That's great. Why not? The big one here, I think, is being able to add attachments both to the record, which you could do, but also to WorkDrive directly from the email tool. Oddly enough, that wasn't there to my knowledge, unless someone tells me I'm wrong. I don't think that WorkDrive connector was there before.
No,
And that's really nice, right? So just being
it's
able to
pretty
take
funny
that
too. I was
file.
asking you, I'm like, that wasn't there. You couldn't add from WorkDrive,
I'm pretty
but
sure it wasn't. I'm pretty
well,
sure
it
it
must
wasn't.
not be
But
because they're saying this is a thing now. Until
yeah,
now,
so
you
that's
can
real
either
nice.
download the attachment and add as attachment, and now you can just add it, from WorkDrive. So
Yeah, the more that they can bake WorkDrive into other apps to solve file management there, the better. So do
yeah,
the same thing in Desk, do it everywhere, right? Like, there's no need to be attaching records just directly or attaching files directly to records in CRM. It's just not the best way to do it.
yeah, they've got nice stuff here, and this is interesting. You've got this. I'm trying to figure this one out. Built an option to add custom buttons within email threads that follow a normal custom. But what I'm looking at here, if I'm reading this, is
Well, you can
are,
always you've been able to put a button in a related list in essence, right? So I could
but
check a box on a related record and then click to run a custom function. So it looks like now you're going to be able to run a custom function off of an email thread. Kind of interesting. I don't know like what data that would give us to kick off the function. So we'll have to do a little testing with that. I don't normally I can always think of a use case off the top of my head. That one I don't see it quite yet. But nonetheless, right, the more places that we can trigger a custom automation, the better, right? Because
yeah,
maybe for a certain user, that's the right place, right, to be able to trigger that function. So why
agreed.
not, right?
Yeah, I the one thing I wish in CRM, since they're making all these improvements, the ability to easily flag and associate an email with a deal, right? So you
Yeah.
could say this is part of the deal. That would be one nifty
The
little
only way
thing.
to do it is to start the email chain from the deal. That's really the only
Right,
like 100% consistent way to do it is to start it from the deal.
right. But see how I'm
Um,
seeing this here? See how it's linked deal here? There's something going on.
yeah,
They might
linked
be.
deal. Yeah.
It might be. I don't know if you're able to now, but we got to look at this. Should
Yeah,
this has
there's a
got more going
handful of
on than we thought.
email, like deal plus email things they got to sort out, right? Like syncing in emails from contact roles. Like there's still a handful of those little issues, I think, under the surface there with how emails interact with deals.
Yeah. Yeah, but this looks interesting right here. If you look seeing on the screen where I'm highlighting here, I haven't seen that before. I'm gonna have to play
Yeah.
around with that. I mean, because that's one of the things our customers are always talking about is like, oh man, I go into the deal and all the proper emails aren't there, right?
Mhm.
Um, so it's anyway, nice job, team. Maybe we'll look into that a little more and report back. All right, and then moving on, we actually talked about this one, Tyler, but they've changed the major enhancements to the lookup filter in Zoho CRM. This was released kind of an early release beta, and now
Yeah.
it looks like it has been released to the public.
Yeah. So this should be rolling out for pretty much everybody's account. This is just the ability to filter a lookup on the back end based on a static value. So you can't make it dynamic with this UI quite yet, but you can make it a static value. So you could say only show contacts where type is lawyer. For those dynamic lookup filters, those are going to be coming via client scripts, which will be very, very fun to start working with.
And kind of to sidebar here a little bit, but on the notebook CRM integration that we talked about a few weeks ago, that is strictly in beta right now, and it's you've got to request access and there's a special link and there's all sorts of things around it because we had a few people going, hey, I heard about it, I can't find it anywhere. It's not around, and it looks like it's going to be handled inside the CRM, going into the back end, going into, where you go into settings and under marketplace, you'll click on Zoho and it'll be one of the apps that actually is native inside there without having to go to the Zoho marketplace. So when that comes out, we will definitely let everyone know. And moving on, Tyler, you were excited about this. Basically, you can the way null values in formulas are computed has changed for the better?
Yeah, so I mean, it's in essence here, there's a little, I wouldn't say issue because it's consistent, right? It's just the normal behavior of how Zoho does math in formula fields and scripts. It will throw an error if you ever feed a null value into a math equation. So if you wanted like invoice total and it was going to be field A plus field B, well, if field B is empty, then you don't get an output on that. It doesn't treat it as a zero. So essentially what they're saying is that now nulls or empties for a math equation are going to be treated as a zero so that it will just not break in essence when you actually go to do those. It looks to be like this is only inside of formula fields, not inside of deluge scripts. I would assume if it's coming for formulas, it will come for scripts as well. But nice to see. I mean, it's just if you know it's there and you know that it works like this, you just do an if null, right? On every single thing that you're doing math with. Like that's what all of our developers do. Like anytime there's math, everything is if nulled, and if it's empty, it's a zero, right? So, but it would just be nice if you didn't need to do that. And that maybe wouldn't confuse newer Zoho developers who don't expect this behavior to be the case.
All right, and moving right along. So telephony external ID field in CRM, sometimes known as the caller ref ID, call ID, call UUID. Basically, you are now going to be able to add this as a field in the CRM, which is going to, if you're integrated with a third-party telephony vendor, it's going to be able to, rather than like, it's kind of think of it as the record ID that you would have, I guess, in CRM, but this is for the caller. So, you could go back to Ring Central, run some reports that way.
Yeah, if you're doing an integration, right? So like this would be that ID of the call record inside of Ring Central or inside of Twilio. So if you wanted to do some analytics and compare the two, you could join on this value. If you wanted to write an API over to that third-party VoIP provider, you can use these values. So it kind of just skips a annoying part of custom coding into a VoIP platform where you're matching on like phone number and time of day and all these different things to create like a rough match. Now they're just going to write that ID so that you can do it properly if you do need to build on top of the existing telephony integration that you've got.
Yeah. Very, very nice. And moving on with a very busy news week. So in Zoho CRM, you have a module called Forecasts. We seldom use it. Normally, we'll roll that stuff up into analytics, but they have made a whole bunch of enhancements to basically reporting on the back end of the format module.
Yep. Essentially just a handful of new kind of pre-built templates for your forecasting. Like Brett's saying, we do a lot of this in analytics, but if you are just all in on CRM, this can be a nice way to kind of get some of that future focused data based on what you've currently got.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of been one of the things that was lacking in the forecast module is kind of really decent reporting, and they looks like they've gone a long way to improving that here. So I haven't
Yep.
seen a change to the forecast module in forever. So it's nice to see. Nice to see it getting some love here. And it's a considerable number of reports that they put together. So
Yeah.
if you are using the forecast module and you were unhappy with the reports you were getting back, take a look at this update. It is available to all Zoho users now. So nice. No, actually, it's not. It's early access. So if you want that, go to the link and fill out the form, and you will get early access to that. All right. And still moving on with the news here. So Unsplash integrations is now going to be removed from Zoho campaigns as well as marketing automation. It appears that Unsplash made a change to their terms and conditions, and Zoho said we can't live with those. So my guess is there were some privacy concerns because that's Zoho's pretty big on privacy, and so on March 31st it goes away. So if you're using Unsplash, you've got a week and it goes away. But you can use Google Photos, you can use Flickr. I think the one that's probably best is Giphy, wouldn't you say? Kind of
Yeah, I
filling
think
in
so.
that void there. But all those currently integrate. So if you're using Zoho campaigns, you have those. You can use those as well in to replace, unfortunately, Unsplash, which is going away. So more of a PSA there. And then wrapping up our news for the week, we're going to end it with the Zoho People newsletter for March has dropped. And we always like to remind people of this because if you are a Zoho People user, that team is constantly making changes and improvements, and the newsletter kind of covers everything that they have done. They've also published their, they have their roadmap, half workday and weekend shifts are coming soon. Customize the ratings in your continuous view to match your company norms. Quite a few things, and they're always doing their webinars. So, if you're not familiar with Zoho People, they have a webinar that's going to be running on April 11th, and you can sign up for that. So for all you people users, get out there and check out the newsletter. And with that, Tyler, let's get into the implementation of the week.
Alrighty, so this is one that was built out by Landon and Hector on our team. Hector getting the double feature here. And for the astute viewers, that QR code on the screen right now is real. So if you want to scan that, see where it goes. Freddie thought it would be fun. So in here, basically what we're doing is an automated QR code generation for CRM records via API. And there's a lot of different use cases for this. I'm going to run through the one that in this case was what we were doing. But there's lots of different times that you'd want a QR code. So essentially, this is for a client that creates like large assets that might need to come back for service, updates, repairs, right? Things like that. And they wanted an easy way when one of these comes back into the shop to be able to easily scan it, have that open into the CRM record so that we could take notes, log any parts that were used, check the warranty, all that stuff, right? That's all stored natively in CRM. So out of the gate, what we first had to do is figure out what's a third-party platform that can easily generate these QR codes via API. We landed on Rapid API mostly because it was free and they had an unlimited limit, right, in terms of how many of these you can do. I think another one that the team had mentioned was like QR Monkey. You're able to do some branding and really cool things, but you do have to pay. So in this case, because it's just internal, it didn't really matter how they look as long as they work. So we went ahead and used Rapid API. And so then on a trigger in the CRM, we can essentially use a deluge script to create what the URL for that record is, send that to Rapid API, which basically responds back with this QR code that we can then attach to the record. As any of those assets, machines are going out the door, one of the last steps is to print and affix that QR code. So then anytime that it comes back in, super easy to just scan it. You get the full picture of the record, the full history, place to take your notes, and any work that you're doing on that particular machine. So pretty straightforward implementation, honestly. You have to pick a good third party, right, that you're going to use to create the QR code. Zoho doesn't do that piece for you in and of itself. But once you've got that done, using the code to basically send the URL there and attach the record back was pretty straightforward and will hopefully save our client a lot of time, right? So they don't have to go under, get the little, serial number on the bottom bracket of the machine, type it into CRM, right? It just comes in, they scan it, and they're good to go.
This is back-to-back Hector implementations of the week.
I think back-to-back, yeah.
He joined us a few weeks ago, and here we are. Boom, boom, boom. Hector, good job. Good job, Landon. That's a nice implementation, though.
I can see that
I can see this going for a lot of purposes,
Yeah, all different kinds. I mean, it's just nice to be able to scan and open, right? At the end of the day, just a quick way to get to a CRM record.
Super, super nice. All right. With that, let's head over to Club Z and look at the code share of the week. So Josh has spent a lot of time with Shopify and inventory, and we've been doing some really interesting things. So I think we're going to have to, Josh, take a note of this, but we need to make this one of our apps of the week. Before we get into this, I'll say one of the things we do around here, you'll notice everybody's got the Zenatta t-shirts or the CRM Zen t-shirts, and there's backpacks and there's hats and there's all sorts of things. And normally I have to order them all. And they all come in, and then I ship them out all over the country to everyone, and to our guys in Brazil, which is a whole nother hysterical story we could talk about sometime. But Brazilian customs is tough. I'll just say that. And so you basically, Josh found this great store where you can, I mean, at ultra cheap prices, almost what I would pay if I was going to some third party vendor to do it. And people can order just what they want and have it shipped directly to them. And the shipping is free and everything on that. So we'll actually do something on that because I think a lot of businesses might really benefit from that. Because if you just want kind of the company swag to go around and give everybody that, uh, give everybody access to it and kind of let them choose what they want, whether it's a hoodie or a bathrobe or a t-shirt or a hat or whatever, coffee mug. It's pretty cool. So because of that, Josh has been going deep into Shopify and Zoho Inventory, and he's come up with a pretty cool integration that he's taken to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, this is one that we have kind of set up for a lot of clients in the past as well, because the Shopify to Zoho inventory integration works great. It'll sync your products, it syncs your stock. Anytime that an order is created, it makes a sales order inside of Zoho. The issue is that it just makes a sales order in the draft status, no invoice, no package, nothing there. And the reality is, if someone is buying something on Shopify, it's probably paid, right? Unless you've got a real weird Shopify thing and you're doing payment terms for an e-com, which is the big outlier here. For the vast majority of people, if an order is placed in Shopify, it's paid. And so part of this implementation or code share is Josh giving you a code snippet to automatically capture the invoice and mark the invoice paid, so that you don't just have this kind of like open receivable sitting there. And then the other side is using Zoho Flow to create the fulfillment record when it's fulfilled via Shopify. And so it depends here on how you do your shipping. For some people, they want to do their shipping through Zoho Inventory and Easy Ship. In that case, you would just want to automatically create a package. In Josh's case, the shipping is actually happening and notated on Shopify. And so he just wants to write over and make sure that we log that shipment took place for that package inside of Books to properly remove it from your physical inventory. So this is kind of, you can think about this implementation as kind of like completing the loop on the Shopify integration. Like the baseline one gives you the core building blocks, but it's missing a couple of these pieces. Like specifically, almost everybody needs that first part, which is creating the invoice, right? Because it's paid, right? It's a Shopify order. That's how it works. And then the fulfillment, you need to figure out how you're going to ship, and that will kind of affect your flow. But if you are going to ship via Shopify or an integration to Shopify, then both parts of these will basically get you sorted out.
Yeah. And this is just a fantastic write-up. I mean, this is step by step, extremely detailed, all the code you need, everything. Great job, Josh. Exceptional code share. All right. And back this week, because we had something worth talking about, Tyler, let's move on to the read of the week. This comes from the Zapier blog, and it's how to use OpenAI's ChatGPT-3 to write emails. And I just want to put this in. Everybody's raving about ChatGPT and how good it is and what it's doing. And I know a lot of people think that it's got its issues. And but boy, I tell you, there are a lot of things you can use it for. We've actually integrated into Click, and we've got a lot of videos on that and how to do that, and write-ups on how to do that. But this is if you wanted to write some basic emails, here's everything you need to do and all the triggers and how to set it up directly through Zapier. In this case, they're integrating it with Gmail. And pretty nice step-by-step tutorial. So if you are a little mind numb and you'd like to have ChatGPT write a big chunk of this, you can do it. I mean, we found this to be pretty useful on like responses to simple requests, like how do I do this in Zoho? And we could just type it all out, but you ask ChatGPT and it gives you a step by step, and we have to make one or two edits, right?
Yeah,
pretty straightforward. It's pretty nice. So there's a nice detailed write up, and so nice job there from the Zapier blog. And with that, Tyler, let's head on over to Zenatta. See what's happening over there. We mentioned this a little earlier, but the Josh and Greg went out and did our Zoho Desk, everything you need to know about Zoho Desk. And like you said, it came in at 1 hour and 24 minutes. This is an extremely deep dive into Zoho Desk, and we always do a write-up on these for those that kind of just want to kind of get a quick overview of it. You can head over to our blog and get a quick read as to everything that they covered, what they did, and go from there. But really worth, if you've got an hour and a half and you're using Zoho Desk, I think you will get a lot out of this.
Yeah. This is like required reading for Zoho Desk admins. This really does cover most things that you would want to touch in Desk. Obviously, you can go insanely deep in Desk, right? You could spend the next 2 years customizing it. But in terms of getting a V1 of Desk up and running, some automation, some customization, this is going to get you a nice roadmap that you can go through to get that done for your org. Yeah, huge shout out to Josh and Greg on this. They did a fantastic job.
And also, we've been mentioning it, but man, we are getting a lot of uptake on this. So if you're over at Zenatta, you really may want to check out our training programs. We have built, kudos to Drew here, built an amazing CRM training, and it's team training. So basically, it's one flat rate. You pay that price, and you can train everybody on your team on Zoho CRM. It is quite the detailed curriculum. So it's a 7-day course for admins, a 2-day course for standard users for setup and training. And there's just a ton here, and really, really worth taking a look at. So if you are looking for some team training, head on over there to zenatta.com and click on the training, and you can go ahead and sign up for that. And with that, Tyler, let's get into the tip of the week. So this actually came from AZAAZ. This was a question that was asked there, was about sending some emails in sequence out of the CRM. And you decided that you would go ahead and turn this into a kind of a full-blown tip and step everybody through that.
Yeah, it's kind of a question we get asked a lot, like the use case basically being, I just want to send a couple quick emails that automatically follow up on a proposal. I don't want to have to pull this over to Zoho campaigns and go through the whole process there, right? Because these are kind of transactional about a document that I've sent them. So I just gave kind of a quick walkthrough here. I used Deals as my place to set up this automation, but you could do the same process for leads, contacts, accounts, custom modules. Really doesn't matter. So I kind of walked through how to set up the instant email as well as your scheduled emails, and a couple things to be aware of, and how to make them work properly, right? How to make sure that it's not going to keep sending if they respond, how to make sure that, right, your automations aren't going to cause a negative touch point. So quick video, I think just about 10 minutes as a run through here. And hopefully that will be helpful for those who want to kind of set this up on their own.
Yep. Very, very good stuff. And as always, if you head over to youtube.com/Zenatta, that is where we keep all of our ever-growing library of videos where you can kind of see what's happening. We would love it if you would subscribe to the channel, get notifications, and you will not miss anything that we do. Man, we are coming up on 10,000 subscribers, Tyler.
Any day now.
Any day. Yeah, that's about a week's worth, I think. So maybe next Friday we'll be creeping up on it by the time we get to the next show. All right. And with that, that is going to wrap it up for another edition of the CRM Zen Show. We want to thank everybody for watching and listening. And if you have any questions, if you want to get a hold of Tyler and myself, just head over to zenatta.com and click on Book a Meeting.
And on the website is where you'll find complete episodes of the show, as well as links to all the stories we discussed today. As always, we'd love if you would subscribe to our newsletter to get that news delivered to your inbox every Monday morning, as well as subscribe to us here on YouTube, as well as your choice of podcast app. We'll see you next Friday.
Take care, everybody. Oh, I love the new AZAAZ animation there, Freddie. Very nice. Have a great weekend.
Happy Friday, everybody.